What's going on, everybody? The world's a better place because you're here to join us. My name is Matt Brown, and I'm the host of the Productive Conversations podcast. And let's talk week 6 of the college football season. Let's recap week 6 of the college football season with me and Ryan. Hello, Ryan. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Lots to do, lots to talk about. And this was a very fun week of college football. Even some people
Mhm.
thought coming into it might be a little boring, but it wound up being absolutely insane. And one of the insane things to go on is all the major changes at the all the major
Yeah.
changes these upsets caused for the college football realm. So obviously they're big upsets to discuss. But let's first talk about the updated top 25 ranking,
hmm
where there are several shifts after surprising upsets and dominant performances. So the big was to recap off the bat, Ryan. Ba, 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 ba. The big ones off the bat. So Ohio State remains dominant at number one. The University of Miami, big jump, big jump. Now they're ranked second, and the Hurricanes moved up to number two after defeating Florida State, while Oregon dropped to number three. And Ole Miss, though on a break, went to number four. Let's talk about the major trumbles and upsets. The big two, Penn State and Texas. Texas dropped out of the top 25 entirely after an upset loss to the winless UCLA Bruins. We'll get more into that shortly. And this is one of the biggest upsets of the season, maybe of the decade, honestly. And then
Yeah.
for Texas itself, they also fell out of the top 25 ranking after a loss to Florida. Now they're 3-2, same with Penn State. And remember, too, the Longhorns were number one ranked in the nation before their two ugly losses, and this other one as well. Iowa State with a major drop as well. They dropped 8 spots to 22 after losing to Cincinnati over the weekend. And the teams that moved up included Texas A&M, as they're now 5-0 after defeating Mississippi State, and Alabama moved up to number 8 after beating Vanderbilt. Georgia to 10, Texas Tech to 9, Missouri, Michigan, Notre Dame, Illinois, BYU, and Virginia all had significant boosts after their wins this week. And some of the new teams include Memphis, who are undefeated at 6-0, and they're at number 23 and the first team to reach a 6-0 record. And South Florida is back. Our friends at South Florida is back at 24. So, Ryan, what sticks out to you after these major changes?
I mean, obviously we're going to talk about them later, but Texas and Penn State, I think I think it's fair to say that this season has proven there's almost absolutely no need other than for marketing, of course, which is important to have a preseason top 25. There it just isn't. I mean, the two teams that were featured very prominently in that preseason top 25 included, of course, Texas and Penn State. Teams like Florida,
Mm-hmm.
right? Florida was on the top 25 list at the beginning, and now they are considered an embarrassing loss for Texas. So clearly, there is no benefit at all to the preseason rankings other than it gives people an idea of quote unquote, who's good to watch. I'll be honest, I'm not certain that the AP rankings should matter. Like you could I don't think you should stop doing them for the, preseason in the first 3 weeks, but I don't think the AP ratings should, I think they should reset every single week until week three. Like the up and down of it all, like you should not give any credence to where somebody was week one when grading their week two, like making the week two list because it's just, I mean, look at Oklahoma is now a top six team. I mean, Indiana undefeated again. We thought that was a fluke. It's not. Meanwhile, LSU was supposed to be a real tough one. And I mean, they're still they're at number 11, which is maybe a little high for them, but still, they're a decent enough team. But Clemson is gone. Florida is gone. Texas is gone. Penn State is gone. Is there anyone else from the vote? By the way, 111 people still voted for Texas to be on this list, and just go ahead and revoke every single one of those folks' votes. They just get rid of them. There should have been no votes. Same with the 97 who voted for Penn State. By the way, so
Hey,
that should make a lot of room. And by the way, Penn State better team than Texas. I understand that they lost to UCLA, but I'm just saying if the two of them played, Penn State would beat Texas. Texas was a fraud. I don't know. I mean, it must have been the Manning PR machine. I have no idea what happened,
it
but
has to. It has to be,
they
Ryan. It
they
really, they
literally
really do have that influence. Well, I don't know if them specifically. I never thought that Mannings were like the Kardashians going out of their way to prove them. In fact, I think they were as distant as you can be in a respectful way. It's like, yo, man, he's got to do his thing, and we're
yeah,
just the
but
uncles.
to me the whole
That's just
thing
the
is
media
crazy.
going
Yeah,
crazy.
but it's a fraud. ESPN basically lied to anyone who's a college football fan about the Texas team.
Ha ha
So
ha.
that those are of course those are the two big ones, right? However, I was thinking about this because we talked offline. I was like, I mostly agree with this top 25, and I want to amend that. I said last week, and I'll say it again: the best team in college football is University of Miami,
Hmm.
and now I can prove it. So look at Ohio State, right? Now, Ohio State is, of course, number one, and they've been ranked number one forever. They've been ranked number one a long, long time. And when you look at them, who's their big win? Who is the signature win for Ohio State?
I mean, no one. Yeah, they just get there for their
No,
national title win.
it's Texas. They
Oh,
beat
to start the
Texas.
season. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
they beat Texas week one, and everyone put them as the best team. And then they have, it's what they beat Washington.
Hmm.
That's it. Like they've got no win, and then you look at Oregon, you see what their biggest win was, and it was Penn State, who just lost to a team in UCLA who hadn't won a single game all season, and frankly may not win another game this season. UCLA might win exactly one game, and it's against Penn State. Okay, like these two teams are considered the first and third best team in college football, and they've beaten nobody. Whereas
That's
you
what's
look at
funny, and that's what's
Miami, they've
funny.
actually won some games. Like
Hmm.
they've won hard games too. So to
With Carson
me,
Beck actually playing pretty legitly too,
yeah, he's playing great. 4 touchdowns in this game against Florida State. We're going to talk
at
about the game, but
30-year
still.
old.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's crazy. But we're almost done with the COVID era of having full-grown men playing college football. But no, I think that we have to be serious. Miami is the best team in college football. They've got the resume to prove it. Like they've backed it up. Ohio State, Oregon, their best wins look really bad right now. Especially, I mean, no offense, obviously reigning national champions, but Ohio State's got one big win and it's against a Texas team, which, like we said, is just fraudulent. They had no business being probably in the top 15, let alone the top five, let alone the best team in college football. Like, they had a fraudulent win against a team that never should have been ranked number one, and they've been coasting at number one since then.
Mhm.
So I really do think that to me, that's the biggest problem with this list. I don't understand why we won't just is it maybe it's a brand thing. I thought Miami was a big enough brand, but why they're not ranked number one is insane to me. And then, Florida State beat Alabama, so it's not like they've got no wins either. Like I know they're ranked low, but they've got plenty of players on Florida State. So to me that's crazy. And then the last thing is I think LSU is probably ranked too highly.
Mhm.
Um, like Tennessee 4-1, the way they've been playing is pretty much what you'd expect. LSU is severely underperforming. And we've got enough of these, you got Alabama, Georgia, LSU, Tennessee, Missouri. Like you've got these kind of middle tier SEC teams that are all kind of vying for that same number 4 spot, number 3, number 4 spot in that division. And the SEC is getting 4 or 5 into the playoffs more than likely. And I just don't think LSU of those people is the best team. I think Alabama, Georgia are both more interesting than LSU. And then Georgia Tech, meanwhile, is exceeding all expectations. They're very likely going to find themselves against Miami for the Atlantic Coast title. I think they're a little bit low. I think Haynes King is probably, if he keeps playing this way, I think he's on his way to well, one, Heisman consideration, since most of the Heisman favorites have collapsed, and two, maybe I don't know what his what his professional career prospects previously look like, but he looks like one of the toughest quarterbacks in the country right now.
Yeah.
So I think they're a little low. I think LSU's a little high. That's not really a huge problem. I think really the main issue is Miami being robbed once again of the number one spot. And you know what? Ohio, you better watch out. And, honestly, Oregon too. I know at the end we'll talk about games to watch, and I've got some games to watch, and those are two of them for next week. I don't think the craziness, the topsy turvy, is done yet.
Well, why don't we talk about what was topsy-turvy, and let's talk a little more specifically about those two very
Yeah.
big games. All right. First, Penn State falls to UCLA. Penn State, previously a top 10 team, suffered a road loss to UCLA. UCLA's offense controlled the game with balanced passing and rushing attacks. Penn State struggled offensively, failing to capitalize on red zone opportunities. There were key turnovers and missed field goals contributed. Key turnovers and missed field goals contributed to the Nittany Lions' downfall. This loss likely impacts Penn State's playoff hopes. And like I said, at this time, they're just not in the rankings.
Yeah.
Dude, James Franklin can not only beat really good teams, he can't beat winless teams now.
Yeah, this is bad for him. Because his shtick was always a bridesmaid, right? Never the bride. Now you're not even a bridesmaid. You're the flower girl. What are you? I don't even know what you are when you lose to UCLA. This UCLA team sucks, by the way. Like, this doesn't change how actually bad this UCLA team is. So if you are a UCLA fan, I wouldn't like. I think this will be your only win. I really do. Like, I'm sorry, I just
Your
don't.
Super Bowl, your national championship.
Yes. And you know what? You did it at home, which is awesome. You beat Goliath at home, and you should take that as your moment of pride for the season. But
Thanks
you are,
to Tino Sunseri's offense, his second game as a coordinator, to offensive coordinator, too, specifically.
hey, you know what?
It looks like he can play.
Yeah, I know. It looks like he just graduated. But like, hey, maybe he's the future for them, and maybe he's going to keep getting better. But the team sucks at the moment. And I don't believe that's going to change dramatically this season. But honestly, if you look at the stats here, time of possession is really the story of the game. Um, like, just UCLA kept the ball longer. They kept the drives going longer. Um, what is it with like third down efficiency? UCLA had more successful third downs than Penn State had third down opportunities. So third down efficiency, 10 of 16 for UCLA, 4 of 9 for Penn. They just kept the ball longer. They kept the drives going. And so when you look at the player stats and you see like how everybody did, like two passing touchdowns is great, right? Running touchdown. And I mean, obviously the UCLA went insane with their scores. But it's like the team played fine. They just never held on to the ball. And 37-42 is what happens when you let the other team have 20 minutes more than you do in a game with the ball. 20 minutes. I'm looking at it. It's 20-43 and 39-17. That's nearly 20 minutes difference in terms of the possession time. So, I mean, that's an insane amount of time to have over your opponent to score. Like, it just is. So, if you want to know why they lost, that's why. They couldn't keep the drives going. They couldn't keep the ball. And so you can't win if you don't keep the ball.
Not only you can't win, you can't score. You can't win if you just don't have the ball in general.
Right. Yeah. You keep giving it to the other people, they're going to score, and you're not.
But yeah, Ryan, James Franklin, even if he wins the Kraft Macaroni and Cheese Bowl, how can you, I don't, it's hard to keep him after that. You can't lose to a winless team in your conference, too. In this very weird
Yeah.
realignment of the Big Ten, too.
I mean, as I
And
kind
then
of
nobody shows up to those games, as you could see.
yeah, no.
And the real ones have something to celebrate.
I know, yeah, the fact that the Rose Bowl was empty and only the diehards got to see this is awesome. Um, I do think this again. Penn State will win more games. They're not in free fall. I mean, they're close. Don't get me wrong. If I'm wrong, it's somehow they lose their next game. Like
Oh, no,
that
I
would
mean, why
be
not? It's just between them and an FBS team, an
no, it's
FCS team.
Northwestern.
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, anything's possible now after a
Uh,
winless
Listen,
UCLA.
if
So,
if Northwestern beats Penn State, I agree with you. James Franklin is fired. He's probably fired before the season's over, which is crazy to think about for a ranked team at the beginning of the year. A team that, by the way, has beaten like good teams in the past, not this year. So we'll see, but I do think they'll probably win some more games. I don't think that this is the end for them, but yeah. I don't know when his contract's up, but I think he could probably safely assume that he won't be asked to return.
I hear that. Now, why don't we switch over to the other major upset in college football over the weekend? Florida takes down Texas. The Gators beat up on the Longhorns. Florida pulled off a major upset against Texas, shocking the entire college football world. Florida's defense forced multiple turnovers, including critical interceptions in the second half. Texas offense was inconsistent, struggling to protect the quarterback and failing to finish drives. The Gators' victory boosts their national ranking and gives them momentum heading into the midseason stretch. And Texas, once again, has a major Texas has a major downfall in primetime. And boy, that is the story.
Yeah,
Arch
two
Manning once again seems to be having growing pains here in his sophomore season, first as a starter.
growing pains,
Or
like
you just
stunted
don't think
growth.
you just don't think maybe he's not it. I don't know. I mean, is it too premature to say that?
I
Nobody
don't
thought in
think
their
it
first
is.
5 games that he'd only be 3-2.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, me.
Yeah.
This guy beat what? Louisiana Monroe last year. All of this, all of the commercials, all of the hype, all of the ESPN, extravaganza was based on two things. One win against the University of Los Angeles, University of Louisiana Monroe, and his last name being Manning. Like, I'm sorry. And you know me, listen, I'm not this big, I'm not a big anti-Nepo thing, right? Like, we talk about this on the Tweet Cap and the other shows we do. Like, you
Hmm.
can be both very talented and have a famous family. And I do think it is dismissive to assume anybody who's got a famous last name is a joke. And I'm also not saying Arch is a joke. He's a sophomore. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he could get better. This is not, doesn't need to be the end, but it will be the end, my opinion, if he stays in this Texas team. And I'm saying that so seriously. I think Arch Manning needs to get out of Texas.
So just
Uh,
straight up transfer, enter the portal, which
Enter the
would be
portal.
that'd be a big story.
It would be a huge story, which is good because you need some story that isn't how badly you did this season. And more importantly, Arch needs to play at a different level. His
Like
last
out of
name, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, do you still see him in a Power Four school or go to one of these smaller markets?
I mean, if you could go to Power Four and still be in the smaller market.
And it's definitely in the FBS still too.
Oh
Or
yeah, 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 yeah. No, no, he shouldn't go down. Yeah, he's gonna play
Mhm.
for freaking whatever. I was gonna say
Like
Delaware, but Delaware's actually an FBS team now. But no, he. I mean, I think if he ends up on a what's it called? If he ends up on a Big 12 team, as an example,
mhm.
and I don't know who is looking over there, but there's probably a few who would be interested. I think that that will do a lot for him, especially if it's one with like a real, well, one, if it's not a coach who's got real success with quarterbacks, like confirmed, then he really ought to be finding a coach who's got no success with anything, a new coach, because then at least it won't be his fault. You know what I mean? But no, I do think that Arch Manning is playing in the SEC exactly how I thought he would, which is a little bit less, like below average. I think he's playing below average SEC ball. He's clearly a decent enough college player. I think if he wants to get to the top of the food chain, he's already got the last name that's going to carry him a long way. Just ask Shador. But he does need to, like Shador, end up in a conference that, it's just a little bit easier. And the Big 12 is just a little bit easier. And, off the top of my head, Oklahoma State going to have a new coach next year. They could build it around Manning. He's going to be able to draw a lot of experience out of this nightmare of a season. Could even turn that program around. And that's a very strong program. That's a program that is respected, has a decent amount of cash. So I think Arch has got to go. Got to leave Texas. They lionized him too fast. They sainted him before he was ready, and the well is poisoned. The well is poisoned in Texas. He's just got to get out.
I like your bold take on this one, Ryan. Very good one. All right. Why don't we move on to another Texas team that's making a bunch of noise, though? The Texas A&M Aggies and their dominant win on Mississippi State, specifically. A&M's offense controlled the clock with a strong running game and efficient passing. The Aggies' defense limited Mississippi State's big plays and forced multiple punts and turnovers. The quarterback was efficient. The running back keeps getting major yardage, and the defense is very strong. Now I bring it this Texas A&M. I bring up Texas A&M because they seem to be gaining a lot of momentum since their upset win over Notre Dame.
Hmm.
And I was wondering, you talked about with the SEC, Ole Miss impressing you to
Hmm.
mostly positive reviews on comments. And I also wanted to add to that. Do you think Texas A&M, whether they are the second best or high up there, do you see them being a threat here in the SEC?
Oh, absolutely. This season's SEC is so interesting because you've got a big three, and it's a big three I don't think anybody would have expected. You've got Oklahoma, provided that Mateer gets back in time. He obviously didn't play against Kent State. That didn't matter. They won 44-0 because Kent State is Kent State. You've got A&M. We've already discussed with their massive win over Notre Dame, which, by the way, Notre Dame has only proven to be a decent football team since that loss. So that only makes them look better. And then you got Ole Miss, who I do still think is the best overall team in the SEC. You've got that group of three who feel almost untouchable there, other than, of course, amongst one another. And then you've got Georgia, Alabama, LSU, Tennessee, Missouri. You've got the folks who are kind of, and again, I like Mississippi State, but I think they're probably out of that conversation now. Um, you got those guys, and they're all kind of competing for like the last seat at the table. And so there's like a dog pile at that 4-1-ish kind of area, and I know Missouri's 5-0, but still. Whereas you've got these three undefeated SEC teams, and yeah, I think all three of them could very easily find themselves as the SEC champions at the end of this year. To assume Texas A&M couldn't do it is crazy. I think the only thing stopping Texas A&M is Ole Miss and Oklahoma, and the only thing stopping Ole Miss is Texas A&M and Oklahoma, and the only thing stopping Oklahoma is Ole Miss and Texas A&M. Some combination of those two of the three teams are going to play for that championship, and I expect all three of them, again, provided everybody's quarterback is healthy or their backups, you know, really kick it into gear, to be in the playoffs.
Okay, great take there. And we talked about, and why don't you also talk about Miami, them holding off Florida State?
Yeah,
And Miami was looking great for the first three quarters. Then FSU did make a big comeback, scoring 19 in the fourth, but
yeah.
they ultimately held them off. Now, a lot of people still, including yourself and the critics, are very high on Miami. You want to just elaborate even more on that, despite them having a bad fourth quarter, to be honest?
I mean, yeah, bad fourth quarter is a bad fourth quarter. You can't ignore it, obviously, but you have to look at it in the broader context. To me, and granted, this is probably a not an awesome uh sort of what is it, comparison, given how last season ended. This feels like the last season's Oregon Ducks.
Hmm.
They just feel very, I don't want to say cold, but they feel kind of mechanical, right? Like they continually get yardage, they continually score, they do it early, they do it, with not necessarily often, but they do it with consistency. And I think that that was really the difference between this, Miami win and an upset between, Miami and Florida State was consistency. Florida State couldn't get anything working till the very end of the game. Whereas Miami was consistently marching down the field and coming away with points. You know what I mean? So I think that that was really the tail of the tape. And if you look at the team stats, that really does bar out. Total yards, passing yards, and rushing yards all went not by a ton in some cases, but by a decent amount actually to Florida State. But the yards per play did not. Because Miami didn't need to go absolutely bananas and score 19 in the fourth. They just had to play, generically good ball. Also, this Miami team had a lot more penalties.
Okay,
They need
I
to
agree.
fix that.
So
They
more
just do.
discipline. So just more discipline will go a long way.
Well, and I think they are already that team. I don't know, bad game. I don't know what it was, but I think that that's something that's gone well for them in the past is how disciplined they work together and how, again, like a machine, they just continually drive forward, like the Terminator. You know what I mean? But this game was so close, I think, more than anything, because of those penalties. Penalties almost always provide opportunity. Now, they're lucky that it wasn't until the fourth quarter that Florida State could capitalize on any of those opportunities. But I do think that that's why this game was closer. I don't expect to see the same mistake repeated next time. I think that the Hurricanes are going to see how close this was. Louisville's a decent team, but I do think that they'll put them away. And you just look at the end of this, yeah, it's what, Louisville and SMU. It's really those are who you got. Syracuse can be a little flirty, but that's not till November. So realistically, you've got a really strong schedule as Miami to win out. And if you do that, I mean, if they can find a way to make someone else the top team in football with an undefeated Miami this season, I don't know what else to do. And Carson Beck,
Uh-huh.
smartest person possibly ever in college football. We all said he was an idiot for staying, but he was going to be drafted in, the middle of the last round to God knows what team if he had gone last year. Now he's one of the better, he might be a Heisman finalist and he's one of the better prospects if you base it purely off of this season.
Okay. Okay. Great perspective. And Ryan, why don't we finish this off quickly with Bill Belichick, someone we haven't talked about much
Yeah,
on the college football show.
'cause he
Clemson,
sucks.
Clemson trying to get any momentum they can, but the University of North Carolina falls to Clemson. Another major setback for the Tar Heels. They just couldn't convert in the red zone, making turnovers at critical moments, and just having a hard time on defense. Belichick, as the days go by, it seems more apparent that it was all Tom Brady. It was not even 100%, it was 150% Tom Brady. And Belichick, no doubt a great coach. He's just, you know, not magic and automatic. And even though obviously college football, ACC college football is 10 times different than the pros,
Mhm.
still though, not a not a great start for Bill. And I think Clemson really made that well known. And nobody's going to those games either. Mhm.
Well, yeah, I mean, because those two teams are also both pretty much boring. Yeah, it was two coaches who won't be coaching next year. They got to play each other. That's kind of cool. I don't know what they do with Belichick. I really don't. I have no idea how take your how do you take this investment you made and make it pay off? Like, do you offer him a job as like the athletics director for the school to get him
No.
out of the freaking coaching room, but keep him part of recruiting. Like, I really don't know. He's just not good at this. And I said last time we talked about him, it was kind of ridiculous, the expectations people had, and I stand by that. The Tar Heels are not a great football program. The past few years, that was not going to magically change because Bill Belichick was their coach. That the players are ultimately the ones who still have to win the games, and
Yeah.
they haven't been very good at that the last few years. But yeah, this is definitely actively worse than I thought it would be. The Belichick experiment went from like a fun, interesting experiment that probably wouldn't mean much to perhaps a hindrance. Because now what is essentially just a slightly worse season than usual is being treated as like the end of the world. And that's going to tank recruiting. It's going to make the transfer thing almost impossible to do against some of these other teams. Um, so yeah, I don't know what you do. But you do something and you do it like really fast. Maybe James Franklin will be available
Oh boy.
to or what's it called? Napier will be available too, probably, even though they just beat Texas. So maybe you grab one of them. I don't know, but yeah, I think you got to move Belichick out. He's just not. He doesn't have it. He's not the guy.
Well, I don't disagree with you, Ryan. And just in 60 seconds, what are some of the games you were interested in this upcoming week?
Yeah, there's three of them. I'm interested in Indiana versus Oregon. Oregon has not been tested, except save for Penn State, which we saw doesn't mean as much. Indiana is undefeated. Indiana beat the living snot out of Illinois. They had to beat the living snot out of, Old Dominion. They did okay against Iowa, didn't beat the living snot out of them, but still, I'm very interested to see battle of probably the two best quarterbacks, certainly in the Big Ten, probably in college football with what's his name? Is it Fernando Mendoza? And Dante Moore. I think it's Fernando. Yeah, Fernando Mendoza and Dante Moore. So that's one. Two, Ohio State and Illinois for much the same reason. No one is giving Illinois a chance. Illinois has absolutely climbed back from its embarrassing loss to Indiana. Um, again, probably not enough to make itself a contender, but enough to be considered an actual test for a football team. Something that Ohio State has not had yet. Um, so we'll see. I think that at the quarterback position, Illinois is better than Ohio State. And frankly, at most other positions, if you look at the just the raw numbers, they've been better than Ohio State because they've had to be. They've actually played games against hard teams. I think Ohio State could lose this game, and that'll be an earthquake for college football. And then lastly, but certainly not least, Georgia and Auburn. Last